that. Just show up every day. So you telling us here right now on the Pimp Game podcast, you stop the weed smoking? I mean, oh my goodness, Gilly the Kid is going to be pissed. Snoop, Wiz Khalifa, they're going to be pissed about that comment. What is really going on? How did you stop doing that? How did you stop doing that?
What's up, everybody? This is Mamadou with the Max Credit Score here, reporting live with the Kenny D. I urge you to go to I Am Kennedy on YouTube and subscribe to the Pimp Game podcast. A lot of great content, a lot of good conversations. Check out my man, Kenny D.
Perfect. All right. So let's get started. Welcome to the show. So for all those people out there who's crazy, they ain't tapped into the best credit dude who's doing it right now on the East Coast, out there in the Philippines, wherever. Yo, tell everybody who you are, your name, and what you do in a couple of seconds.
What's up, world? My name is Mamadou Membere. I own and operate a credit building program, personal credit, business credit building program. We've been doing it about 10, 11 years. We were kind of running multifold. So we're not your average credit repair company, you could say. We do a lot of things community-based, to where we go into schools, churches, different organizations, and we just teach personal and business credit, and we pull up in corner classes and do the same. We partner with all of your major real estate companies, and we create a funnel to where we help all of the clients who credit aren't in the shape it needs to be to buy the house. So we try to get people in the best financial position to make the best financial deal they can for themselves. And then on the third front, we just run it as an education company, right? So our main mission is to help everybody get in tune with financial literacy, not so you can just manage credit, but you can learn how to start a business, free yourself, so you can learn how to get into entrepreneurship and other things you might be interested in when it comes to managing your money. So I'm happy to be here with my boy, Kenny. I remember your lively energy, my friend.
All right. So let's go back to where it all started for you when you were young, dealing with your brother, dealing with your mother, driving you crazy in Greenbelt, Maryland. What's up? What was your first love when you were a kid growing up? What was Mo's first love?
And thank you for bringing this to my memory. My first love has always been music. And that's how I met. Little known fact for the audience out there, Kenny D is a singer, and we had a music group named Chances when we were young, growing up in wild Greenbelt, Maryland. But I was also a student athlete. I played sports. I wasn't always super competitive. I just kind of played sports because I was good at it and I had the size, and it was good to keep us away from those other influences that were kind of in the neighborhood. So, but I really loved music, man. I loved expression. I always respected artists who had what it took to follow their dreams and really go out there and pursue what their passion was. Because I feel like the things you're talented to do, it's really important that you nurture that as you grow into yourself more. So at that young age, we were gifted to just want to explore in that space, right? So that was pretty much it. I never thought far into the future. I just knew at some point I wanted to like be in business for myself and, you know, own my own time, if you will. But at that time, all I could think about was music and expression. And, you know, when we're young, we're falling in love and we're wet behind the ears. So we make all those love songs to express what's happening in the moment.
I like that. So you mentioned you were a student athlete. You also, I noticed you went to Roosevelt, Eleanor Roosevelt over there in Greenbelt. They got a lot of talented people out there. What did you do in terms of athletics? Did you partake in any athletics there at Roosevelt?
Yeah, man, we were not your average high school. We were what you call a 4A division football team. So we played football, and out of my graduation class, for example, we had 7 players going to the NFL. Our record was like 13-1, and we had shut out I think 7 of the teams before halftime. So we had a very competitive environment in how we were groomed as football players. But I think our school, it was a science and tech school, so it was geared for a lot of students who, you know, were high achievers in their area. But football became my sport. One, initially, because it was kind of the popular thing to do. It's like, okay, you grow up, you got size, you look like you could play football. But then I grew a love for the culture and the character building that was immersed within our team and within our coaches. So we ended up being like a family. And, through any kind of sports, you learn a lot of principles that end up helping you later on in life, whether it comes to just discipline or making sure, you dedicate yourself to a certain practice, eating right, taking care of your body, working out, all these things that I valued at the time. So that kind of helped us keep our heads straight on.
I like that. I like that. I like that. So you mentioned Roosevelt High School. Someone else who went to Roosevelt High School with you, very talented indeed himself. He's no longer with us. Your homie, this is how I met you when we were younger, Joseph Nwosu, AKA Jody Jazz, whatever you want to call him. Where were you when you got the news that Jody had passed away?
Man, ascend in peace to my good brother Jody, man. It's funny, man. Before I touch on that, every time I see how the Afrobeat scene is now and how it's going crazy with music, I'm feeling chills as I'm saying it. All I can think of was Joe, because all he did was dance and express his heart out and sing. He could be a fiery personality sometimes, when Jody Jazz get in his bag. But no, man, I have so much love for him. So I think I was home and his sister said something, and we all knew he was battling with lupus at the time, but I didn't know how serious it was. And I spent a lot of time with Joe in those years. So I remember times where the situation would happen and you would kind of see it increase in his weight, and then times he would decrease in his weight. But in those times, never did I think it was terminal. But the way I deal with when people pass and transition to the other side, something in my soul and spirit, I just know they're okay in that infinite, so in the moment, all I did was pray for him and tried my best to celebrate his life and celebrate the joys of the joy he brought onto us. And it left the imprint on me, because still till this day, I think of Joe, especially anytime I see like people dancing to Afrobeat or going crazy. He just had that wild spirit in him like that.
All right. Yo, if you are just joining us, you are tuned in to the Pimp Game Podcast, and we are here with the one and only Mo. That's right. He's the owner and CEO of Max Credit Score. I love it. Feeling it hard on the Pimp Game Podcast. So let me ask you this. Let's transition, because you kind of built over there, got your shirt out. I mean, hey, I like it. You always been disciplined in the gym. Where do you get your discipline from? Because it's very tough to eat healthy and go to the gym. Most people, they go to the gym, but they're not eating healthy. Where does Mo get the discipline from to stay even on all fronts, discipline on all fronts? Where do you get the discipline from to stay in shape?
Personally, I don't even like the word discipline, man. I think it comes down to really making sure you put what you value in front of you and naturally start giving energy to that. Because anything you start doing that's against what you're programmed to do, it has a little difficulty at first, because you're switching up what you're doing. But if you love looking good, you love feeling good, it's not just about working out for the physical appearance, right? And it matters what you put inside of your body. So I think naturally I just started to value that, hey man, if I don't feel good, then I'm not at my best and I'm not really enjoying the fruits of life. And no matter how ambitious you are and what your goals are and all those other things, at the end of the day, this is the one house and temple that you have. You got to treat this with the utmost respect that you possibly can. So that starts with nourishment. That starts with what you put in your body. So I think, and I had a whole bunch of odd jobs when we were super young. Even though I was kind of in business, always went through the route of like cutting hair and getting into entrepreneurship. I also worked at Checkers. I was the one that was like, everybody come through the drive-thru, let's pack you with a burger. But when you're uneducated about nutrition, we grow up eating all this junk food that we feel like is really nutrition, and you can't get enough of it because it's not nutrient dense. It's not really giving you stuff that you need to like help your organs and your vitality. So I think the switch started happening for me when my body intuitively started rejecting certain things. So 5 years, I haven't eaten any meat. I don't drink any alcohol. I don't smoke any more weed. And, I used to love MJ. I used to love to like just, get myself in that space where it would allow my creativity to kind of prosper. But naturally, as I grew older into channeling what I really wanted to live my most quality and my best life, life responds and God responds and your body starts responding. So your body starts rejecting certain things. It's good to listen. So when I stopped eating red meat, I started waking up earlier. I started getting up without any brain fog. And I noticed my digestive system was a lot clearer. And you got to remember, the gut is a brain. The gut is your first brain. You know, we think just the brain is up here. No, it's the gut, it's the heart, and then it's this physical brain. So if the gut's not clear, you don't even know that you're clouded all over. So first it started with, all right, let me start eating right, and then putting yourself in the right surroundings to nurture those things. Right here, I live by the beach. There are people with active lifestyles. There's a lot of healthy food around, real fruits, not like the GMO stuff that you see everywhere. So I just started deciding that, you know, first and foremost, what's important to me is longevity. Like, forget what you're trying to achieve in life. You got to be here to be able to even enjoy that, right? So at the end of the day, your lifestyle's got to reflect what you feed into yourself daily. And then I made it a labor of love. So when I go to the gym, I don't think of, oh, fuck, I'm about to go to the gym. And that doesn't mean you're always going to feel like it, but you're making deposits into yourself. Anytime you put any action or work into self-development, man, that's only going to stick with you and make you better. So you got to find the practice of loving that, and don't worry about being a perfectionist with it. Just show up every day.
I like that. Just show up every day. So you telling us here right now on the Pimp Game podcast, you stopped the weed smoking? I mean, oh my goodness, Gilly the Kid is going to be pissed. Snoop, Wiz Khalifa, they're going to be pissed about that comment. What is really going on? Well, how did you stop doing that? How did you stop doing that?
You know, I think marijuana is a medicine, and I think there are many other things that people have that they use to put them in whatever space they feel induced. But I feel like when you do too much of anything, it starts being abusive, right? So there was a time in my life where I would say herb actually served me well. Because I mean, let's call it frank. We grow up, man, we grow up in a neighborhood, and we grow up with ambitions to like live life good and prosper and be successful. And sometimes we go to different coping mechanisms just because life is hard. We don't see abundance all around us. And we know in our heart's will, it's our birthright to like have all these other things. So sometimes you just use it to put you in a feel good space. Other times it becomes literally your crutch, because if you use it too much, you're not clear-headed when you go throughout the day. You smoke, you get tired, you can't be fully functional in what you do. Sure, some people will argue they can be functional, but my personal will, after it served me for some time, I decided, I said, you know what? I don't like the fact that now it's becoming to the point where I can't really stop this thing. You get what I'm saying? Like, so times I would be like, all right, man, I'm gonna just stop smoking like 2 weeks. And I see 3, 4, 5 days pass, and I'm like, damn. All right, let me just go back to it. So when I realized the substance started having more power than my will to not want to do it, that's when I knew it was a problem. But I can't take the credit and say like, oh, I woke up one day and just decided I'm a cutthroat, stop smoking weed. And for anybody who's a current smoker who says, oh, I can just stop when I want to, most of the time you're lying to yourself. And it's important, first and foremost, to start being honest with yourself about where you stand with things so you can get to a point where it can help you. But I started working with plant medicines. And I started working with the sacred medicines from the Amazon, from Africa, from the jungle, that really help you to, one, clear your neuroplasticity in your brain that are attached to any kind of addictions, that are attached to any kind of childhood trauma bonds, and that are attached to have you wired in a way where you look for coping mechanisms to where you're looking for escapism. The same reason why is the difference between drinking alcohol just to be social and feel good, or feeling the need like you have to drink every time, or you have to drink to be able to have a good time when you're out. In a sense, it's numbing. And anything that you start to abuse, whether it be a drug or something that can be medicinal like marijuana, anytime you start to abuse, you start to get desensitized to the point where it now gives you this super dopamine rush, and it makes you feel good. But right after that, because you're in conflict with the action you're doing, you have a down slot and you start feeling bad. So one of the sacred medicines I work with is called ayahuasca. The very first time I sat with this medicine, the spirit of the medicine laughed at me and it told me, hey, you know, you'll never like drink or smoke again in your life, right? And first, it scared my life. I didn't know what was happening at the time. It was really early in the time. But needless to say, since then, it was absolute cold turkey. I never desired it again.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Yo, if you're just joining us, you are tuned in to the Pimp Game Podcast, and we are here with the one and only credit guru. That's right, Mo. We are picking his brain about how he went from Roosevelt High School to now healthy eating, to giving up weed cold turkey, to owning his own credit business right here on the Pimp Game Podcast. So, in terms of the credit business, you got to be really knowledgeable about credit. A lot of people are not knowledgeable. I don't care if you're Asian, Chinese, Black, white, whatever. Everybody needs help with credit. How did you get started in the credit game to do your own thing? How'd you get started?
So thankfully, and you know, as much as I preach entrepreneurship, I have a feeling like when you have jobs and you go through many stepping stones in your life, all of those build up to be able to help you attain some skills that are going to help you at a later time. So I've been working in the bank since I was 17 years old. I've been a teller, I've been a relationship banker. I know how that kind of money system works. Then my degree was in finance. So I understand investments, I understand money, I understand stocks and bonds and all that other stuff. But then when I graduated in college, the job that I wanted, you know, African, you got to work at the World Bank to like make it type of stuff, right? So the job I wanted, not get. So I went back into the banks and I started working as a financial advisor with Wells Fargo Financial. So through that, I started working in many different sides of the bank because there I saw, okay, I can make a decent 80K salary going into the office 5-6 days a week, but I'm not really doing anything to satisfy me. And 40 hours a week is a long time just to be sitting there working to develop something for some other company, but I still learned a lot through that side, right? So I decided, okay, it's not bad to be in the bank, but how can I work at a different side of the bank to where I control my own income? So I decided to be a lender. So being a lender, the amount of people that you help get loans increases your productivity. And I remember sitting down and having a conversation with one of my managers, and he was like, yeah, man, if you just put in another 2 years, man, you probably be able to reach 100 grand. And I was like, if I gotta wait 2 years just to make an extra 20 grand, and we're not in days where you gotta operate everything slow. There are creative ways of thinking where you can make a lot of money. I was like, dude, I ain't never gonna touch $1 million if I'm moving at this rate. And it's not even that the million's the goal, but I'm never gonna touch financial freedom if I move at this rate. So at least let me do a in the bank that's gonna allow me to own my own time, and then my production will base how much I make. So as a lender, I got to see the front side of credit. And then President Obama launched a program in 2008 called Home Affordable Refinance Program and a Home Affordable Modification Program. This is where they were trying to help so many people either save on their mortgage or whatever. So I got to see how banks scheme and collect back properties by getting people to foreclose. Then I also got to see how banks can help people to retain their property. So on each front, I got to witness how credit operated in all of these facets. So while I was going through all of these jobs within the bank, I got to see what someone needs to do to really get their credit score. Because as a lender, I see the ups and downs of when you can qualify and when you don't qualify, whether it has to do with collections you have on your report, how you're managing your credit cards, how you manage old debt, what you need to do with debt consolidation, all of these things. So after a while, one day, a person that I was working with, her name's Ella, thank God to Ella that day, she came and she said, you know what, you're really good and you're really smart at everything you do. There's this guy I want you to meet named Tim. And she said this to me because she saw I would spend so much time helping people figure their credit situation out and give them so much free game on that, PIMP game. That, you know, she was like, you'd be good at working with Tim. So I always had a network of people. I was always able to build very good relationships with people in the real estate industry, especially because I was a lender and they needed to get loans done. So after I created all these relationships and I met Tim, he had built a system that took credit to a completely different level. So generally when people think credit repair, it's mystified to folks because half the people don't understand how it works fully. All they think is, okay, I need to challenge negative things and then maybe I need to work on credit cards. But if you don't understand how your score is being rated on the back end and how to follow some of those loopholes and how the credit systems are thinking themselves, you can't get through it. So when you combine my network of people to this beautiful system Tim built, which made credit like a H&R block of credit, meaning instead of just dealing with a credit repair company, you didn't know how reputable they were. You have now an office where you can go in, you can sit with an advisor. They teach you everything you need to know about credit, because what is education if you don't get the back strength? It's no purpose of me helping you get rid of $10,000 of debt and then helping you get $20,000 worth of credit cards if you're gonna go mess it over and end back up in debt. So if I teach you exactly how to keep building on that, then you can use that and scale. So after I met Tim, he had the perfect system and program that he built. And then at the same time, I had a plethora of a network. So we combined the two. And as a Black-owned business, we knocked it out the park, you know, and we really did well. Now, sadly, years after, in 2016, both my business partners, Timothy Craig and Michael Silverman, they both had passed away. So at the time they passed away, you know, God bless their souls. They were, you know, good guys. Tim could be a little strict, but ultimately these guys had great hearts and they helped a lot of people. But then I was faced with the challenge to make the leap. And this is where, you know, life kind of throws lessons at you, right? Because that's why I say it's always important to remember what you ask for and be careful about what you ask for and be intentional about it. My dream was to work for myself and own my own time. So right around the time where that transition happened, where Tim passed away, I had now an opportunity to rebrand and go into business for myself. Remember, I told you at the time, my quote unquote dream job in my head was to work for the World Bank, even though I didn't get that opportunity out of college. So the minute I had the opportunity to go into business for myself, guess what the spirit and the energy did? It knocked on my door with the opportunity to work at the World Bank. So as soon as I was about to make that right turn to be like, okay, I'll just go into business for myself, I know that's what I should do. Something else was like, nah, don't you want a job though? Like, nah, don't you want the prestigious title of working at the World Bank? Like, what does that mean? So I really had to ask myself at the time, what did I value? Did I care about titles and money and this procedure? Because what are we doing when we work for the World Bank? We're assessing resources and the GDP of other countries and then passing this information on to other companies who are then going to go and find out how they can benefit from it. So am I really doing Africa a service there? Like, what am I giving my life's value and work to doing, and what's my end goal here? So through the credit business, I knew not only would I have my own time, create my own opportunity, but I knew I could tangibly help individuals on a one-on-one basis where it mattered. Like, credit goes a long way. Where did it start? Family, friends, your mama, your college friends, your high school friends. So when I saw I was helping all these people buy a house, my brother buy a house, and all these other things happen, it was a no-brainer. It was like, I know my destiny's pointing in this. So I was stuck with a fork in the road to see what I valued the most at the time. So that's how I decided, you know what? Screw the salary I'm receiving. I'm actually going to take a $20,000 to $30,000 pay cut, own my time, and build from the ground up, because I know this will free my time up. And with the knowledge I have, I can apply this and ultimately get to my goal. So that's why I decided to get into credit full time.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Getting into credit full time. So how hard was that decision for you when you had already made the decision to go full time? Now the World Bank they're calling again, knocking at your door, all because now it's kind of temptation. How tough was that decision to just say, you know what, I'm going to do this full time, when you really don't know how successful it's going to be, even though you're smart? I know that. I understand that. Very bright. But how tough was that decision for you?
At the moment, even though it seemed tough, it was a no-brainer. And I think that's something we can all relate to, right? Because as human beings, you always know where your heart lies, and you always know what following your passion in the moment looks like. But then life always kind of presents this weird situation of, giving you kind of an easier route to give up on your dreams, or giving you an easier route to feel like, oh, you can't do it. So you really just got to keep doing what everybody else is doing and kind of see your way through, even though it doesn't come without its challenges. Like you mentioned, I took a pay cut. I started from ground zero. I even left where I was in North Carolina and moved back to Maryland to be closer to home, just to be able to do all that. So with the sacrifices that came with it, it didn't matter, because your passion fuels you every day. The alternative would have been to take a little bit of money to instantly be unhappy tomorrow. So I had the opportunity to keep a comfort zone with a certain amount of money, do what everybody else kind of probably wanted me to do at the moment when it comes to just family who do want best for you, but they're just thinking about how can you be the most safe, and then betray my heart in the moment, which knew where I was really trying to get to was freedom. So in that moment, and this is a moment I think comes into all of our lives, there will come a time in your life where you need to jump. And the only way you're gonna make that leap, you gotta burn the old boat. You got to bet on yourself. And that's part of the lesson we as humans learn as we grow through life, is to bet on yourself and bet on your heart. And then God can show you the abundance of making your dream a reality. And that's part of this, is part of the fruit that you receive from that also. So in the moment, I was able to recognize that that's the state I was in. And of course, it's easier to say it than when you're in the fire at the moment, right? But thank God, and I jumped. And even after that, life will continue to present you with those opportunities to jump into doing that. Just you and your music, you're like, all right, you got music, you're talented, but the world's saying, nah, go work, go do this, go do. Does that mean you're going to stop feeding what feeds your soul? Without even the goal that regardless of how many records you decide you want to sell or how many people you want to see you or whatever the case is, if that's where your heart is and that's what makes you happy, you got to give time and attention to that.
I like that. I like that. Got to give time and attention to that. So I think sometimes with being an entrepreneur, one of the toughest things is to actually jump out there, jump off the boat, jump off the ledge, off the cliff, when you really can't see. Some people can't see what they can do without the job. Can you allude to that a little bit for those people who can't see what they can do and that's why they won't leave? How is that? Like, how do you just go with your gut and your faith on what you really should be doing?
Well, the way that trap first happens is before you even start to think about an alternative, you already rely on the job to live, right? So if you're making paycheck to paycheck or a little more than that, and you know you got bills coming, you might think, I ain't got time to think about no dream or what I love to do. I got to make money to pay these bills. And for some people, God forbid, not God forbid, it's a blessing, but like you already have a family, you already have kids. You're like, these kids got to eat, so I have to do what I have to do. So I got to remind people, you know, when you think in terms of extremes, all you got to do is start and do something small every single day. For many people, I think when you get to adulthood, sometimes you'll realize that you've never actually sat and thought to yourself, like, what do I want to do? What would I do for free that I really love? Like, what would my dream life look like? And then when you're presented with that answer, your belief system comes in. Because the minute you think of that, everybody's answer obviously would be make a lot of money and be free and travel the world if I want to, whatever. But most people, because of their programming, when that comes to mind, the thought in their mind is like, man, that ain't realistic. Man, I can't do that, man. So guess what? Life mirrors your belief system. You get what you believe and you get what you are. So if you see immediately all of those doubts start coming up and filling your mind, that's where you first got to conquer, is that mindset. Because if you don't conquer that mindset, if you never actually believe it, and there's no way you're going to embody it. So it starts small by starting to change your thinking about that, because the mind is only always working for you to bring you what you desire, but it doesn't know the difference between positive desires and negative desires. It can only mirror where your mind is. So if your mind's always thinking about how you can't do something, guess what? That's all the mind can think of. But if your mind's always rooted on the possibilities, now it's open to attach itself to these possible forces that could come and help you get where you're trying to go. So in those moments, it's really important to just remember to channel what you really want and give it full faith. And then when you do discover what that is, do something small by small. If you love art, but you know you're working as a chef somewhere in this, okay, start painting. Don't worry about how am I going to sell art or how am I going to do this? How am I going to? No, just start painting. Once you start putting momentum towards this new activity, opportunities will start presenting themselves and they'll start coming from nowhere. Then you can work from there, and never pay attention to the challenges, because you don't know what the end game looks like. Your goal is you just want to start moving in this new direction, and ultimately that will serve you well. So don't, you can think big, but always just start. Don't spend
Just start
thinking and 3 months have passed by and you ain't done nothing yet, not even lifted anything. So always start from that point on and work on your belief system. Sometimes you talk to people about, attracting things and manifestation and what you believe, and they're immediate like, man, that shit ain't real. Okay, life ain't biased. If you tell life, man, I don't believe that, life's like, okay, you got the power. I can't make you believe anything. I can only give you.
Right. Okay. So the topic of today's show is AI. That's right, artificial intelligence. It is coming to our world now in the near future. It's going to be taking jobs away from people. What is your thoughts on artificial intelligence really messing with people's checks, taking place of humans and things of that nature? What's your thoughts on artificial intelligence?
When bicycles were first created, people thought the world was going to end. Then when cars were created, people thought, oh, the world's going to end. And even till today, people are screaming that, oh, the car emissions is going to kill the Earth's atmosphere and it's poisoning the ozone, which is not true. When the first man said, you know what, I'm going to take some tin and I'm going to wrap it up in the shape of a bird, and we're going to go from this continent, we're going to fly across the world. People thought, you bat-ass crazy, you bananas. That's never possible. So when AI is coming now, they're going to be your natural outrages of it, right? Because some people are going to fear it. Other people are going to feel like, oh, it's unfair because it's taking jobs away from people. Well, guess what? Life evolves, the world evolves, the earth evolves, and so do you. So when changes come, the best thing you can do is embody and embrace that change and then roll over into it. Because the fact is, it's inevitable. Technology is going to either become a tool that you can use yourself to thrive, or if you get stuck in stagnancy, you're going to look at it as something that's an opposition. So I think for those who are in the development space of all these technologies, they got to use their own integrity in terms of what's going to be beneficial for the collective and what's not going to be beneficial for the collective. But for each individual itself, like what you mentioned was it coming and taking over jobs or whatever not. If you see something useful that catches your eye, learn the technologies, learn their functions, understand how they work and operate. Don't make it a habit just to see things like, oh, that's the young people stuff, or that's this generation stuff. No, learn as much as you can, all the time and use it for simplicity and see how you can integrate the technology. So the mindset that something new that comes up, oh, it's evil and it's all this other stuff, that's always a thinking, because everybody will think that, but right now everybody got an iPhone. Look at this technology, it allows us to speak, and one sentence we say out of this may help somebody grand and change their life, and it's the same sentence can trigger somebody else who's like, they don't know what they're talking about, whatever. So we can't control the flow of how people's perceptions take it. We can just do what our function is. So best advice I can give on technology: learn the systems and never be afraid of change. I think it can only be a positive thing, and I think eventually we're going to merge with technology. Right now we are so dependent on it that we can't live without it. However, being a person who works in a space with transient beings that are plants, and that work in a space with connecting back to nature and understanding your true connection and power with this earth grid vortex that you live in, I think it's very dangerous if you don't know the nature of yourself, and if you don't do enough self-discovery and learning about that connection that you have to your source before making your whole life about the technology. Because I think life goes on and you'll be fine anyway, but you're missing out on everything. Because think about it, man creates technology. So technology is really just an extension of all the powers we have within ourselves. So I think learning more to connect with who you are as a person and your relationship to this earth mothership that we're on and the cosmos and the rest, that's just as important as integrating all of the new technologies that are now an extension of that. So if you're in a simple space where you're a person like, all right, I got a job now, they're saying when AI comes, it's going to shift this job. Well, a lot of these triggers that are happening in the world, including the pandemic and all the stuff that happened, pandemic, whatever you feel about it, doesn't matter. What you see, the common thread is for the individual is starting to shake you up. And when you get shooken up, what do you start thinking of? If I had 1 month to live, what would I spend my time doing? Right. If I lost my job tomorrow, what else would I do? And so even though it's uncomfortable in the moment, it's actually very positive because it pushes you towards shifting, being in that comfort zone, and then now hopefully getting into a space where you actually enjoy what you're doing and you can thrive in it. So follow the opportunities.
I like that. I like that. Follow the opportunities. Okay, I like that. So for any young girl out there, young dude out there who want to be the next Mamadou, want to own their own credit business, max credit score, want to do their own thing, what's your advice to them if they want to get in the credit game?
Well, I think first, want to be your own you. You know, I always say as a human being, it's funny because we grow up thinking about, oh, we're getting educated and this, but you learn nothing outside of yourself. You're growing with everything you need in. So learn skills and tools that will help you hone who you are so you can live more in your authentic expression. But if you specifically want to get into credit, or whatever field, work on your craft, man. Get educated, like study and learn and know your stuff better than anybody else knows the stuff. That way, when you're helping people and you're translating into that, you're speaking from a confident space to where you know what you're talking about. And it's very important to do that. You still see and hear me, right? Yeah. I had to deny a call. It's very important to do that because everybody's philosophy in business is different. My personal philosophy, you know, some people are in business to make profit, and some people are very intentional about the fact that we're going to run this to where we can make money off of it. I don't operate that way in the business. I operate based on passion and service, and I work under the principle of knowing if I help a lot of people get what they need to get, by way of that will be blessed into it. So then I monetize my skills. So if you want to get into credit, learn the game, learn credit, learn finances, learn debt, and then learn how to best service people. People don't like being sold to anything. Figure out where you have value and educate people. And people are smart enough to then make a decision of if you are a value add to them. I have people who call me today from 2012, 2011, just because they trust me to know that when they call me, my objective is not for them to join my credit program. My objective is to help them in the best way I can. And by the time we have a conversation, they realize, oh, snap. If I get in your credit program, this will be taken care of for me. But more importantly, I equip them to the fact that even after that, now you're equipped knowledge-wise to be able to take this to the moon if you want to, independent of me. You see what I'm saying? So my whole goal is like maintain integrity in every single thing you're doing, learn your craft, and do it for the love of it. Don't just choose a career because you think, okay, that's a good career, can make money. No, man, while you have the opportunity, especially if you're young, and even if you're old, because it never, like, Morgan Freeman started acting at 46. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you're older, whatever your dream and your goal is, man, start giving that attention and then open your mind to the possibilities, and you'll see how you can make a living doing it eventually. So follow your dreams, whether it's credit, whether it's finances, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's clothing, whether it's, you know, anything it possibly could be. That's the ultimate golden principle. And always do right by people.
I like that. I like that. Always do right by people. All right. So any final thoughts for those fans out there who've been rocking with you since Chances, Roosevelt? You working out, eating healthy since you started your credit business? Mo, Max credit score. Any final thoughts for your fans out there before we sign off on Pimp Game?
Just take the pimp game, man. Take the pimp game, and, you know, always be willing to learn, always be open in life. You have a natural filter inside of you. So take all advices. You don't have to take it into the heart, but always be open to listen, because when someone tells you something, you can tell what you need from it and take it, and what you don't be triggered by it. So, you know, just do the right thing, man. Live your life the best that you can, and strive to be happy, man. Life is a beautiful journey that we should go through. Never feel like you're stuck at the end of the day. Do what makes you happy, and don't be triggered by things you see outside of yourself. Don't compare yourself to people outside of yourself and all of that. Worry about taking care of this vessel, and it starts with what you feed yourself, what you nourish yourself, and then how you choose to live your life. So taking all that pimp game, follow me on Instagram at _Mandinka King. That's _MANDINKA_King. And we're doing a lot of work here with retreats, man. We do yoga retreats, plant medicine retreats, and we work with a lot of sacred medicines from the jungle. And we really have this mission just to hold the space open for a lot of people who are in that portion of their life to where they're looking to dig deeper and see what's beyond the veil, while helping themselves to just live and thrive from an open-hearted space. So look into the work that we're doing with that. We've created a couple organizations. We've got some land out here, and we're building wonderful things here in Tulum, Mexico. But this is for all around the world, because I think there's a new consciousness wave that's hit to where people are going to start learning more about their creative abilities in this earth, and it starts with the knowledge of self. So there's no better investment in life than self-development, whatever that may look like for you, and keep God first.
I like that. Keep God first. All right. So before we let you go, tell everybody who you chilling with.
I'm chilling with my man Kennedy on the Pimp Game podcast. Listen, throw your judgments out the way, throw your thoughts out the way. Tune into the Pimp Game podcast. And if you're a real pimp, you know you should listen to every single thing that comes by you. And naturally, the pimp in you will know what to take and what to set aside. So don't get caught lagging.
All right, and that concludes our show for this evening. Before I let you go, to all my viewers out there, thank you for tuning in. As well as my YouTube lovers out there, thank you too. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That's right, you're gonna go to iamkennyd and subscribe, and make sure you turn those notifications on, so when we upload videos, you are the first to get it. And last but not least, we like to thank the one and only credit guru, Mo. That's right, the owner and CEO of Max Credit Score, for blessing us with his presence today on the show. All right, see you next time on Pimp Game. You don't want to miss it. Holla.
Audio Jungle.